Hello lovely dancers, my name is Aisha and welcome to Belly Dance Tutorials. Today's class is gonna be a short lecture. Yay! Aren't you excited? Because this channel is focused on educational materials and I think that lectures are very important in the development of a dancer of any kind. So today I'm gonna give you some pointers about the wrong moves. Everybody has experienced during their practice, during their training, moments when we weren't sure about our moves, if they look good, if they are correct, if they are what they're supposed to be. So for today, I'm gonna give you four pointers of why a certain movement does not look correct, or it looks wrong, or it looks incomplete. This is from my personal experience, my point of view, but it's also based on the training that I have, on things that I've read, on looking at other dancers or other teachers. So let's start. The one of the most important and most obvious reason why a movement looks wrong is that you don't know the actual movement. You don't know all the parts that are involved. You don't know the breakdown of the movement, the very little details that go into the movement. So when we actually don't know what the movement consists of, it's gonna look wrong, or it's not gonna look good anyway, or not what it's supposed to be. So to fix that, you just really have to know what's involved in a certain movement, all the parts that are in motion, what parts we need to move and where, and what parts we don't need to move. Now the second reason why a movement may look wrong is when some parts of the movement are not executed. You know what the movement consists about, but you may skip some portions of the detailed parts of the movement, so it doesn't look as complete, or it doesn't look as what it's supposed to be. And I'll give you an example here, very common. I've seen that many times. For instance, when we do the hip figure eight, it's a horizontal hip figure eight from front to back, yeah. So front corner around to the back corner, slide, front corner around to the back corner. And what happens sometimes is that this middle portion, which is a slide from the back corner to the front corner, is skipped. So instead of doing a large sliding movement from corner to corner, the movement becomes kind of here, very limited and very small. All right, so this is an example of how skipping parts of a movement make a movement look I don't know, just incomplete and not as good as it could be. So you really need to know all the parts of the movement for that, so you know if you are skipping something or not. Even if it's fast, sometimes we could do some movements at a faster tempo depending on the music, right? So even a figure eight may be a little faster, but we still have to include a little slide from back to front. Yeah, even if it's smaller and faster, but it should be there, so the movement looks complete, right? Even if it's faster, slide, 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 yeah? So that's an example of that. Now the third reason is not finishing the move, so it's related to the second one. So if you're starting a movement but you're not finishing it, also it looks incomplete. So I can give you another example in the figure 8 family of movement. And I can think of the vertical figure 8 now. Yeah, the vertical figure 8 on the down. So it's a downward movement, slide, downward movement. And what happens sometimes is that after we move the hip downward, we have to finish this semicircle here. So we try to slide out, right? And then do this circle down, and then we move on to the next to the other hip to slide out and complete this circle here. So it has a little hook, right? So this makes the movement complete. When you're skipping that part, it looks more superficial, right? So if I'm not finishing the circle here or semicircle here on the side, it's gonna look way more superficial. Whereas when we include the downward and inward movement here, it looks like we are completing the actual figure 8. Down, down and in, down and in. All right? So yeah, this is an example of a movement that's not finished. Sometimes we transition from one movement into another, so sometimes it's okay to not finish a certain move because we are starting a new one right on top of that. And I'll go into that maybe in the next lecture and talk about that more in detail. All right, so now the fourth reason, very important for beginners or for people in training, is to maintain the body isolations. When we don't maintain the body isolations, the movement that we intend to do gets lost. It just gets lost in the whole body movement, and it doesn't look like belly dancing, right? So one of the specific forms of belly dancing is that we focus on a certain move, but the rest of the body is still. Yeah, it's not moving in general. I mean, there are many exceptions, of course. But when we learn about belly dancing and we learn the basic isolations, that's one of our goals to keep the movement isolated to the part that's supposed to move, and the rest of it stays still. And that has to do with body awareness. It's something that we develop in time. For a long time, we don't know that we actually move other parts that are not supposed to be moving. But in time, as we practice and continue the training, we get to be more aware of our body, what our body is doing. Sometimes, without our intention or our knowledge. So, in time we have to build this body awareness that will help us actually keep the movements isolated. And to give you an example of that, because we talked recently about the hip drops, and sometimes I see people who are still in training that move the entire upper body with this hip drop. So it's not really isolated here where it's supposed to be. And of course there are exceptions to the wrong moves. We'll talk about that in another video. So I think that's all what I have for now. And I'll continue this idea maybe next time, and I'll expand on the exceptions to the wrong movements, because it's important to know about that. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll try to answer that. And until then, I'll see you next time and continue to shimmy. Bye bye.